with whatever content we have.
Recording is on.
Okay, so I'll just share my video first. One second. Share screen. I'll just share my screen. So I think it's visible, right?
Yes, yes, it's visible.
Yeah. So basically, what? Just one second. Yeah. So basically, in this 3D printing, what we normally do is we try to make a 3D model initially. We do a slicing process after that, and then we give it into the printer. And this is the basic procedure that we normally do. So I am just going to show you what we were just going to print. This is normally called a benchy. It's like a standard model that we use for 3D printing, basically. So these have almost all the features to see if the 3D printer is working good or not. Like basically, there's a hole over here, and then this extra extrusion. There is an inclination. So all these things. So if to know if your printer is working properly or not, just we normally print a small benchy. It's called a benchy. So this I have basically sliced and I've already given it to my printer through a pen drive. So I'll just go. I'll start the job right now, and Padman can talk meanwhile. I'll just start the job. Okay, Paddy.
Yeah, I'll share the screen. Uh, so you guys can keep looking at what Vishak is doing on his screen. Before, only after that I'll share it. So basically, this kind of hobby printers, they are they have a movable heated bed, and they have a frame on which you have an extruder and a heater and a nozzle assembly, and that thing which you can see with the blue color pipe feeding into it with some black box that moves around. Vishak, you're not audible.
No, yeah, I'm not speaking. If I speak now,
Oh,
echo will come.
okay. Sorry. Fine. Then I'll go ahead. So basically, what he does is, as he said, he has sliced the CAD model with a slicer software called Cura, and that G code. If you're maybe if finished your third year, aerospace students might be knowing that G codes control CNC machines. So this is also kind of like a CNC machine. It also accepts G code, and once you feed the G code, you can load it with a micro SD card, and then you can just select some parameters, make sure that everything is okay. Filament is already loaded in here. I think he has some orange color. Uh, yeah, orange color filament is there. Yeah, very nice orange color, and that will feed into the printer through the extruder, which you can see. There is an extruder there. So this, yeah, he's pointing at it. So that basically pushes the filament into that blue color tube. Normally, in these kind of printers, it is a Teflon tube, and that feeds into the heater and the nozzle assembly. And he's showing that right now. And there are cooling fans also to supply cooling air, and that is both to cool the nozzle, and there will be some airflow directed to cool the whatever print job is going on. So then you can see there is a bed on which is also which has a motion along one axis forward and back. The nozzle moves left and right, that is the x axis, and then the whole thing moves on a gantry type of thing. It goes up, that is a z axis. So he showed all of those, and this is basically a belt-driven arrangement for the x and y axis, and the z axis in this machine is a lead screw. So in your first semester, people in the workshop you might have heard of lead screw. So basically now I think he will probably give the print job if he is all ready. Before everything, the whole printer has to heat up. So the nozzle assembly has to heat up to some temperature enough to melt the filament, whatever is coming, and the bed also has to be heated because you cannot expect a molten plastic to stick on a very cold surface or a room temperature surface. So slightly around 60, 55, 60 degrees and all people can go. Even lower also 40 to 60 for this particular class of filament. Depending on the material, the temperature is there. So now what you can see is it's first putting a line of material on the very edge, just in case there is something, some leftover
Blocking the
filament
material.
yeah.
Hello. Yeah, so that initial time that was there, that it was waiting, that party was talking, that was the time it took to heat the bed to around 50 degrees Celsius and heat the nozzle to around 200 degrees Celsius. So then it started printing. Now you can continue here. I just wanted
Yeah, so now you have seen how easy it is to put a job into the printer and let it start printing. The challenge comes into deciding how you have to make the job ready for print, and the settings which are important for printing. Basically, aligning your whole machine. If you have seen the workshop, you would in the engineering workshop in your first semester, you would have seen only the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot that goes on to make a machine ready to do a job. So similarly, even in 3D printing, you have some basic steps that you have to follow. And there are a lot of resources online. YouTube, you can watch many things. And in this session, we'll try to direct you to some of the resources, hopefully, and spark some interest in 3D printing. So with that, if Vishak is okay with it, I'll share the screen to that PPT.
yeah, if you want, I'll share the screen. The video was not working.
Ah, okay, okay, good,
I'll
good. You share, bro. Yeah, you share.
I'll share it. And just for the information of the participants, there is Sandeep sir has joined us. Sandeep sir is basically working with me in LPS itself. So he was one of the first persons in IASC who actually ventured into this field around 5 6 years back itself, when this 3D printers were not actually that available in the market. So even that time, he basically built one with his own hand, and he basically has around 3 printers in his house. So he is one person who has been dealing in this field a lot, like in make by making 3D printers itself. So he has also joined. So if we have any doubts in Q&A, he would be happy to answer in the end. That's what he's here to. Okay, so I think my screen is visible, right?
Yeah, man,
Yes,
it is
yes, it's
visible.
visible.
Yeah, Padman, you can take.
Okay. Okay, so let's get started. Let's go to the first slide, next slide. So basically, when someone starts talking about 3D printing, a lot of people have a lot of expectations, basically very hi-fi expectations. But what actually happens is a lot of failed attempts, and you can see in the lower right corner, you basically sometimes when you're beginning, or sometimes if you really mess up, all you get is a big bowl of spaghetti, and yeah, that happens quite often. But
It
usually we show only
happens
the
only a
finished
lot.
products.
Like
Yeah,
for
we
me,
should.
most of the times, like usually when I was starting, like each print that I take, like most of the time something wrong will happen. It's like each print will take around 16 to 17 hours minimum if it's a decent size. So in that 17 hours, in at any point if something goes wrong, the entire print is gone. The printing that happened for maybe like 15 hours before that is all gone into waste. So there were times where I have printed the same thing 3 times, and then you get the final finished product. So this is a very common occurrence that we see.
Yeah, so Vishak is absolutely correct. This happens all the time. So now regarding this buy to whether to buy or whether to make, I think Vishak can give a few insights.
I actually before buying this printer, I wanted to basically make a printer, and I had talked to Sandeep sir. Sandeep sir was an expert. Like it was like 1 year back or 2 years back that wanted to make a printer. So that time I basically looked into the market. So basically you require a few stepper motors, you require the belt, this thing, you require few rods. I made the entire bill of materials, and when I just calculated the cost to buy that, it came around 19 to 20K. And printers were available in the market, like Ender 3, the one which I have right now. Printers were available in the market for around only 17, 16K. So then the question was, is it worth, making it? And while making it, there are lots of issues that you will face with alignment and all that issues. So if something goes wrong with the alignment, then every print you will see that in every print that you make. So after I even said, going and talking to Sandeep sir, I felt it was wise to buy a printer. So this is my choice. But if you don't feel that the financial aspect of it is a big criteria, and if you have a workshop kind of a setup at your place where you can properly align the structures, then making would be a feasible option. So this is basically buy or make. That is the first question that most people will have when they want to get a 3D printer, right? And in today's market, when we already know that China is making so much of stuff so cheap, it is much more easier to buy a printer, and then maybe you start printing different stuff to make other stuff, but not a 3D printer. This was the basic thing that I wanted to say.
Yeah, that is actually very sound advice because making a 3D printer, most of the people who attend the talk, I would presume that the only exposure that you have to any sort of machines is some things in the engineering workshop. And maybe if you're working with our Suraj sir, you might have seen his 3D printer, did some internship, whatever it is. But whatever Vishak said is very sound advice. If you're doing something for the first time, and you want to get into 3D printing, most people, 99% of the people, they want a working product and they want to print something. So, as he said, he bought a printer. That is his choice. That is also my choice. I also didn't want to make it'll be a whole project of its own. Whereas I really use my printer to do some small things for some other small projects which I like. And before buying a 3D printer, because it's not exactly it's not like buying some food from Swiggy or Zomato. It it involves certain few thousands of rupees. So because of that, I watched some lot of videos on 3D printing. Spoke to Vishak, spoke to some other people who I know had 3D printers, and watched all kinds of videos. So I would like to point out that YouTube has a ton of resources for 3D printing, also both for building and making. And there is this very nice website, Thingiverse, where people have put all their 3D printing models, STL files, whatever CAD geometries are there. They've given tips also how to print those. All those kinds of things are there. Then I'd like to bring to your attention one channel called CNC Kitchen. I am not getting paid by him. So basically, this guy is some German fellow. He does a lot of uh, very sort of technical and scientific experiments on 3D printing. So he has some 3D printers, and he has some you would have seen in your lab a tensile test equipment, ultimate basically a universal testing machine, UTM. So tensile testing, he does a lot of specimens, he tests all sorts of things and gives very useful advice on how to get the best out of printing. So even if you are not interested in the theoretical aspects, it is presented in a very fun way. And there are loads of other channels also, and you can take a look at all of those. And basically, before buying a 3D printer, just watch something, and you will also be able to get started quickly because you will get exposed to a lot of terminology. In case you have a problem that you're facing, once you actually buy it, you will know exactly what to go and search for, so in order to get a solution. uh, so you will also be more familiar with the basics. So I'd recommend going through all these channels. Just watch it. They're all fun videos, and most of them are like 10, 15 minutes long. You can have fun while watching. Before sleeping, you can watch a couple of videos. It's all nice. So yeah, we can go ahead. Next slide, bro. So this is a very loaded slide. It's quite loaded. So what to look for? So the first thing which I looked for was price. And for most people, if you are, most people here are price conscious, and price is one of the ultimate things. We may be able to afford something in the range of 20,000 or so, but not something in the range of above a lakh or maybe 2-3 lakhs. If you're able to afford, go. I mean, you can go for it. It's your personal wish, but price is one of the biggest things that you need to look out for. Then there are different printing methodologies. So there is something called FDM, that is fusion deposition modeling, and there is something called SLA, which is stereolithography, something like that. So FDA, so you can find out all about these on the internet. There are tons and tons of resources. Just if you type one letter, you will find more than what any of us can talk about. So SLA FDM basically uses a filament and it puts molten plastic layer by layer, and that's how it is cured, and that's how it is printed. SLA is a totally different architecture where there is a resin bath, and through the resin bath, the model is built up by curing it. So this is like you might have studied thermoplastic, thermosetting plastics, and plastics cure in different ways. So all that goes on. There is a lot of technology involved. Then that is the second thing. Actually, that is not the second thing. That may be the third thing. So the second thing, one more thing that you really need to look out for is build volume. So what is build volume? Is the maximum available space that is there in your printer. So ideally, the larger you would want to build huge thing. If you want to build huge things, you would want a huge printer. But keep in mind that, as Vishak said, it will take hours and hours to print stuff if it becomes too large. So what I have and what Vishak also has is a 6-inch cross 6-inch cross 8-inch. What is that in metric? Sorry, not 6-inch, 8-inch cross 8-inch cross 10-inch. That's what we have. 200, 200, 250. But even 6-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch is good enough because I hardly ever print parts that are bigger than this. But I think the most affordable one is 8-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch. I made a typo. Everywhere I've subtracted 2 inches. My bad, sorry. And as I've said, most people want a working machine with minimal assembly required. You just take it out of the box, you just tighten some nuts and bolts, put it together, plug it in, and then start printing. That's what people want, and that's what I will suggest as your first printer, because right now they are quite affordable. And if you're really interested, you can contact, as Vishak said, you can contact people who are already very experienced in this, or you can look online also. There are lots of resources. Then next thing that people can look out for is the temperature, because as you know, with FDM printers, you need to melt the plastic and you need to deposit the plastic, like what Vishak's printer is doing right now. If you take a look at what his printer is doing, so to melt certain kinds of plastics, you need minimum temperatures. So certain plastics require more temperature, certain plastics require less temperature. And then you also need a heated bed. So plastic doesn't really stick well to room temperature or very cold material, very cold surfaces. I may be completely wrong, but so far this is also my experience. And many other people also say that you really need a heated bed for plastic to stick and do all sorts of things. Then, more important than all these things, I feel, to get started is basically easy delivery to your location. For example, you might not want to go to a shop and bring it all the way. You want it delivered to your door. So some services like Amazon, you can look at Amazon. You can buy from Amazon. Then also look at refund policy or return and exchange policy. Those are very important. It is common sense. All of you would be knowing, but I'm just reiterating because this is a sizable purchase. And if you're a student, right, this may be one of the more sizable things that you would buy apart from a laptop. So yeah, a refund return policy, all that is very important. And most important thing, you look at customer reviews, or you ask someone else, like either Vishak or myself or anyone else who has a printer. You ask them. For example, before buying, I asked Vishak because he had it for much longer than me. I asked him about how it is, how is it good, how easy is it to use, and he gave lots of very useful information. And just one day after that, I ordered a printer. So that's how it goes. So yeah, we can. There are a lot of products available. I've shown you $250 all the way to $1,300, $1,400. These are some of the more affordable versions. but I have not got any of these. I have something else which you can see in the next slide. So there is a company. It's a Chinese company. I'm not getting paid to advertise it or anything. So it's called Creality. So they make a whole range of printers. Lot of different types of printers they make. So as Vishak said, he has an Ender 3, and printers are actually becoming more and more affordable. So maybe
Yeah,
some time ago,
yeah.
this. Yeah,
A
go ahead,
year
Vishak.
back, I had got it for around 18K Ender 3, but now it's like only 13K. So all entire Ender series is getting very much cheaper. Is it disturbance coming from me? One second.
I think
So
Sandeep,
it's
we, yeah, right.
Yeah, so I had got.
I think yours and Sandeep sir's thing is linked or something. Okay, you can speak now, Vishak. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, I had got my printer for around 18K, and all the printers are basically now it's coming very cheap, and it has reduced to around 13K. So basically, what I always used to look at is what is the difference between cost to the quality of the print. So when you compare the quality of the print that you get with Ender 3, it is extremely good when compared to any of the high-end printers. You will get almost similar quality in Ender 3, or even Ender 6 has come, I guess, right now. But Ender 6 and all is a bit more costlier. So even though the cost is extremely low for this Ender 3 Pro and V2, the quality of print that you get out of it is pretty decent, and it is up to around zero point 0.3 accuracy and all you can easily get. So that kind of accuracy for this price is actually a very good buy, is what I feel when compared to the other printers that we have. So now, if you are planning to buy something in the 20K range, this would be one of the best suggestions to be given, at least in India. And since AliExpress and all is like now taking too much of delivery charge, it is always better to go ahead with something like Amazon, because although these are Chinese companies, reality, though it is being produced there, there is an intermediate seller which will be an Indian company like Bull 3D or any of those kind of companies are there as an intermediate. So they will assure you the quality of the product. So that is how it is working right now in Amazon. Yeah. So and PLA. As
yeah. Go ahead,
Padmanabhi
bro.
said, this is the most important part. Buying a PLA, or PLA is the material that we are, at least what I am using right now is PLA. Okay, and buying this PLA is actually a very important thing. There are many PLA manufacturers that are there in India, and you also can buy PLA which is being made in China or somewhere else. But when you're trying to buy PLA, which is a bit cheap and manufactured in India, I have faced this twice. That's why I'm trying to say the PLA that we get may, may shrink after it prints. So basically, when the PLA shrinks, the problem is the space between, like inside the print, it becomes very fragile. It becomes very, it starts breaking off. So those kind of issues will come if you go ahead with if you try to buy a very cheap PLA. And this issue must actually, like, you have to just keep that in mind and always look for customer reviews when you buy PLA, because that is one of the most important things that I have felt. And other than that, there are filaments like ABS and PETG. ABS is basically like our keyboard and all that plastic is there, right? That plastic is an ABS plastic. So this is basically it is ABS is actually having much better properties when compared to PLA, but printing an ABS filament is that much difficult. You will require a heated chamber, and there are many other requirements that comes along with an ABS filament. So our suggestion would be to go ahead with a PLA based filament, and then later on, once you feel that PLA is very easy to do and PLA there are no issues with your printer, then you can slowly modify your printer to cater for this ABS and PET. So this is what I have in filaments. What I want to say in filaments. I think Paddy can add on.
Yeah, that was very well summarized. So I have only printed with PLA so far. and I am actually quite pleased with the quality and how easy it is to print. I have not yet tried with the other materials, and so far I have not really run into any high temperature applications where ABS is required, and I don't even want to start trying with ABS so far. So once if I get some experience with that, I'll be sure to pass it along. But so far, whatever Vishak said is very sound, very logical, and yeah, as he said, on if you're buying filament through Amazon, make sure to go through all the customer reviews. And now because 3D printing is so popular, even in India, there are a lot of customer reviews on each brand, each product on Amazon. There'll be at least some 5 to 10 customer reviews at the minimum, so you can all go through that before purchasing the filament.
Okay, I'll just say one thing more in filaments. See, the roll that you see over here, one roll is basically 1 kg. Okay, and the print that I have given right now, like I told you, for 1 hour I am going to print, and that is going to be a benchy, and that benchy is only going to take 5 grams of filament. So you can imagine how many benches I can print. I can print around 200 benches with one roll, right? So the and 200 benches in the sense it will take 200 hours of print. So the point that I was trying to say is one full roll of filament is a huge quantity. So it is better not to like in that initial craze. It is always better not to buy many rolls and keeping stocking it up, because the more if you buy this filament and stock it up, there are high chances that these filaments can go bad. These filaments normally come in a vacuum based packaging. So if air goes into this filament, the filament can become brittle. So it is always better to buy filaments as and when required. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very good advice because I have a ton of filament lying around, and I haven't even used half of it yet, or even 1/4 of it yet. So I'm printing almost every day. Just to use up my filament, I'm just putting a lot of things to print, and continuously my printer is running almost 8 to 10 hours a day. It is running just because I want to use up filament. So now the next thing is once you get your printer, right, it'll normally not come fully assembled. It'll be partially assembled, and you'll have to complete the assembly. And it's usually a 1 or 2 hour job, not much, and it will come with all the tools that you need. Mostly, I'm talking about Creality, whatever printer I have, Ender 3 V2 or any version of Ender 3. It will come with all the tools required to assemble it, and that is the first thing you have to do. Once you assemble it, you have to make sure that the printer switches on and it works. Otherwise, you return it. And once it switches on, you start looking at things like aligning your bed, which is quite an important thing. And there are tons and tons of videos on YouTube how to do each and everything regarding your first 3D print from after taking it out of the box. Yeah. Shall we go ahead? Yeah. So the next important thing is, yeah, sure, you have a 3D printer, but then you have to give it stuff to 3D print, right? So how do you give stuff? You have to give it through CAD. So you can use CATIA, SolidWorks, whatever, Inventor. So I personally use this FreeCAD and Autodesk Fusion 360. So Fusion 360, I never knew about it. Only after seeing videos on 3D printing, a lot of people seem to use it. So even I started using it, and it's actually quite a nice software. And even though it's by Autodesk, it is a there is a free version for students and for hobby use. As long as you don't earn more than some, let's say you upload videos on YouTube and get ad revenue, as long as it doesn't cross a certain threshold, it is free for you to use. And FreeCAD is completely free, and I use it sometimes. It's not very user friendly, I feel, but it is sometimes it has some things which I like. And you can see you have to give STL files. So that is basically a form of a triangulation. It's a triangulation format where the body is discretized into hexahedra or polyhedra, or the surfaces are discretized into polygons, and that's how it is represented. And you have to take these STL files. Basically, when you make CATIA something in CATIA, you get a CATIA part, or in SolidWorks, you get a SolidWorks part, or you can export it as step format, which is a solid body format. Then, but what 3D printers take is you have to give STL files, which all these CAD softwares have inbuilt in them. You can do the conversion either on the cloud or in your own local machine. That conversion happens. And Fusion 360, I will highly recommend because it has very nice drafting, constraining, very easy to use user interface, and user experience is very nice. It feels easier to use than SolidWorks. If you have used SolidWorks, you will know what I'm talking about. Okay, we can proceed. So this is, yeah, Vishak.
OBJ files also you can use. You can use OBJ files, like you can convert it to OBJ as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
that also you can do if required. And so once you make this model in STL or OBJ, then you can import it to something called Cura or any other slicing software basically. So whatever model that you have, now you have to convert it into the G code that he was talking about earlier, right? So to convert into that G code, basically what we have to do is there's a process called slicing. So this is we don't have to do anything as such because it is already coded, and there are openly available softwares to do this job. And Cura is one of the best softwares that I have seen, and I think Padman is also using the same software. So in Cura, basically what we do is we import this 3D model that we have, the OBJ or the STL file. We import that and then we give the parameters that are required, the different settings for 3D printing basically. So there are different settings like the quality, on how much accuracy is required for you, or maybe the print speed, and different settings are there in which you can 3D print. So finding that sweet spot of the 3D printing settings is where you will face small difficulties initially, but then once you get a very good setting, then you can print anything with slight modifications here and there. So the software that we normally use is Cura, and we'll try to give you a small brief about how Cura and what are these settings in the end. Okay, Padman, if you want, you can add something.
Yeah, no. So as Vishak said, I use Cura. I have only used Cura. I have not really experimented with other softwares, but I've seen people using it on using many other types of. These are called slicer softwares, which basically convert CAD to G code. I've seen different softwares being used by YouTube channel people, but so far, what I found, what I thought looked the best, and what I felt was the most intuitive, just by looking, was Cura, and I didn't have to do anything. Nobody had to teach me. I just downloaded it. Even before I got a 3D printer, I just downloaded this software, and I just put some random STL file into it, and I was able to slice and see. It shows all how the tool path is, how it does all these things. It's a very nice software. I'll highly recommend it. It is free and it is open. So it is quite. It is free. It's basically free for all to use. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this is just just something for fun. Don't use pirated software, but I know all ISTNs. I won't say. Basically, don't use pirated softwares. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah.
So then there are some. Yeah, Vishak, go ahead.
No, you can continue.
Okay. So then there are some other useful stuff. Some people might think that this is going a little overboard, but basically you can never have too many tools. So the most important or most useful thing I feel while working with plastic is a pair of side cutters, which normally comes with your 3D printer set. Side cutters are basically like a pair of pliers, but the cutting face is flush on one side, so you can cut exactly at the surface. So it's very useful for trimming 3D printed parts. Then you can get all kinds of things: nuts, bolts, self-tapping screws, threaded inserts, files, emery sheet in case you want to post-process something. I have found that if you take a 3D printed part and first you start with 120 grit, then 220, 320, 4. These are not exact numbers. Just basically go from coarse to fine, and you will get quite smooth products. In case you want mirror finish like products, go to something like 800,000 grit also, and you'll get very good quality or quite good quality surface finish, and it looks quite nice, very smooth to the touch. Some other useful things are a hand drill set of drill bits. If you are a little more posh, you can get a power drill, and also a bench vise or a baby bench vise, basically for holding things while drilling or cutting or sawing through stuff. And just keep general tools at hand. Not only for 3D printing, it will help you for everything else. If you want to do anything, you need tools. So, as someone said, one can never have too many tools. That's probably my words, but I don't know. Yeah. Anything else, Vishak?
if you don't have any of these tools, also you can still have 3D printing as a hobby, and you can print enough number of stuff even without any of these. So these are all just additions that you can have, which will be good for you. That is all. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need all these things, but it's nice to have them.
It's nice to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Vishak.
Yeah. This is actually the most important slide. We we print, we fail, we try to learn what happened, then we again try, and then mostly in some time you again fail. So it keeps this loop keeps on going. But the end thing is that when you see something that you have printed lying around here and there, and at least half of them that you have printed are good products, so then this frustration actually goes away. So other than that, it takes a lot of patience initially, and especially if your luck is bad. Like I have a roommate over here. I was trying to print a stuff for him one day. That print took like I found all the errors that is possible in my printer during that process. My nozzle clogged, the blue color this thing is there, no, the tube. That tube went off. I had to change that. I had to change the nozzle. So I found all kinds of issues in that one print. And other all prints that I've had, I've never faced issues. So you don't know when it is going to happen, but when it happens, it's extremely frustrating. But at that point of time, there is enough content in the YouTube to know what to do when these kind of things happen. And when it happens, and finally when you have that final product, it is worth. That is what I feel. So, and as he has already said, one roll, 1 kg of filament, it costs around 1K. So, and plus the electricity cost. So, your entire cost of having a 3D printer is not just buying a 3D printer, but on top of that, buying different PLAs. Like you will want to print in different colors basically for that aesthetics. So, you will require different PLAs, and when you buy that, you have to put in money. And other than that, your electricity cost will also shoot up a bit when compared to normal. So, these are the things that where your money is going to go. Okay. Yeah, these are few prints that Padman actually printed. But if you want to explain something,
Yeah, so basically, the very first thing which I printed after getting my 3D printer was this Saturn V model of a Saturn V rocket scale model. I found the files on some NASA's website. Basically, they have put up all their whatever vehicle they have launched, they have put up CAD models of those for everyone to take and do it. And they have specifically designed it for 3D printing also. So with quite minor modifications to those STL files. Basically, editing STL files is a pain, but it is possible. But with minor modifications to those, I was able to do this within a couple of days. So I was an absolute novice. I don't know anything about, I hadn't touched a 3D printer before. So this is just to encourage people that it is possible to do it. It's not that it is some great black magic which is going on. You just need patience and spend a whole weekend on this. So you can see all kinds of details are there. Then somewhere in the center, you can see a sort of like a boat sort of thing, which is printed in black color. So this is about 1/2 meter long. So even though the printer is not capable of printing this big part, you can print it in multiple sections and then you can just super glue them together. So you can see some joints are there, which the joints look a little ugly, but then you can paint over it. You can do whatever you want. So and then to the lower left, you can see that there is a sort of a model of a human heart, and then there are some grid fins and all kinds of things. You can see a threaded thing. There is a bolt, and there is a corresponding mating thread also in there. And then there are some lot of different parts. You just have to start. You just have to try. You have to fail. So actually, the first stage of this Saturn V, the very first time when I tried printing it, I got that spaghetti mess. Then I had to look at all this print bed aligning and things like that. Just a couple of hours on YouTube, and all problems are solved. And I went about going ahead with this model. Yeah. Next, can we go ahead?
Yeah,
So Vishak will.
this is another print. As he said, this entire thing cannot be printed at a go because there are different, like the size limitation is there, and I always prefer to cut the print down into parts because then there is lesser chance of failing at the end. So I'll have successful products if it is small things. So that is for this one thing. This is like that. The down part is like this, where and we just put some kind of a mechanism where it locks. So you can actually have a tongue and groove or some kind of mechanism where you will be able to lock it, not just use a super glue. So if you're modeling it, you can model it accordingly. And yeah, those are all scientific stuff. If you want to gift someone something, it is always nice to have a 3D printer because you can print things like a lithophane. A lithophane is basically you just print, and if you put a light behind it, because of the thickness difference, you will see that image. So this thing that I have here, it was printed completely from scratch, including the base, the lamp base, and inside I had kept a proper bulb holder. It was printed, and I just had to attach the bulb inside, and all the connections were made later. So these kind of small things that you have in your mind can be straight away reflected into a product that you make, basically. This was the product that I was talking about. So to print this, basically, though it is an extremely easy geometry, my printer, you know, uh, failed so many times. But that is not at all because of the geometry. That was because of different other, mostly because of the filament. But this is basically a prototype which my friend used to in his office. So basically, when someone asks you for a prototype or at office, they are like 3D model. I'm not getting the feel of it basically. So if someone says that, then it's very easy for you to just take that 3D model, print it, show them in actual what it will look like. So whatever you have in your mind, it is the perfect platform where you can put it into something and make that thing and show. So this is basically we had printed it that day, where all assembly everything was done. Here there are different fasteners that are put, and it was like M3 holes were kept. Those kind of lots of stuff were there in this. So yeah, this is how it looks when you basically print. I think now we are having a proper printing going on. So this slide is kind of a bit obsolete right now, but still.
Yeah, this slide is redundant because you can actually see it printing.
Yeah, so this is basically just a time lapse of what I had printed a Dalmatian one day. So that time basically, the structures that you see, I'll just show you the final thing. See, near the ears, if you see, there is a structure that goes below. So in this animation, basically the ear is an overhanging structure. So if you imagine itself in a 3D printing process, you cannot print an overhanging structure. There should be a base because it prints one layer over the other layer and it keeps on going up, right? So if there is an overhanging structure, it is not possible to print straight away. So what even in Cura, there is an option to give supports. The supports, what they do is basically they will start from the ground, they will go up till, like for this year, if you take it will, they'll go up till the year, and that support, that print will act as a support to print the overhanging structure. And these supports can later be you can just take that supports off, and it is very easy to take the supports off because the interface is interface comes such that interface is a bit breakable. So supports are easily removable, and this is how it was made. So these were all the supports that were. Yeah, Padman, your.
Yeah, so then there are certain other problems while you're 3D printing. And sometimes you will see that if you're printing some very flat sort of parts, they might not, with some small features like this gear teeth, sometimes I find that they don't stick. And it is possible to correct these issues by fiddling around with your bed alignment and certain other settings. But the easiest solution is to enable certain build plate adhesion options. So there are basically a couple of options. One is something called a brim. So you can see there is, and there is another thing called a raft. So raft is basically like you might know, right? If you're stranded in some island after a shipwreck, you'll take some bamboo things and tie it into a raft and then set sail. So something like that. You put a whole layer of plastic underneath in a manner similar to a raft, and then you build a product on top of that. But it's a little hard to remove. You can use it. There's nothing wrong about using rafts, but it's hard to remove, and it generally uses more plastic to build the raft instead of more plastic going into your product. But as Vishak said, 1 kg of plastic is a lot, and you might as well use a raft if you have to.
For
Here
me,
I've used
when
a
plastic going in, I feel it irritating because it takes around 1 hour more to print that entire raft in the build area side. That is why
yes, yes,
I generally don't prefer rafts.
yeah,
You
same.
continue.
So yeah, go ahead, man.
No, no, like you were continuing. Like just
Okay,
continue.
okay. So there's another option called a brim. So basically, what is a brim? If you brim is basically something around the edge. For example, hats. People who wear top hats in olden days, those top hats used to have a brim. So you can see around the part there is some in the light blue color. There is some sort of layers of plastic there. Basically, they are printed first and they help the product stick better to the bed and prevent small features from lifting away or warping, because there are some thermal gradients through the plastic while you're printing, and that can induce some thermal stresses which causes things to warp. So whereas if you put a brim, it helps you to anchor down the initial layer. And one thing that is there for, I think, not just this kind of FDM 3D printing, but all kinds of 3D printing, is that the initial layer is the most important thing. And if you get that initial layer correctly on your print bed, then the rest of your print most likely might succeed, except in some there are cases where it will still fail. But mostly if you get the first layer correctly, then you can relax and you can go watch a movie or something, go to sleep or go to your office and come back or go to class. So basically, yeah. So I was facing issues. You can see on the right side that the teeth are all sort of looking funny. Where I've put a circle, they are all warped and they're detached from the bed. And this will ruin the whole print. Basically, if I had not stopped the print at this stage, I would have wasted some, I don't know, couple of grams of plastic. But then I stopped it, and then I put this, I added this brim. And then you can see on the left side in the white color, it's a perfectly acceptable part. So it's come out quite well. So yeah, we can go ahead.
Yeah, power failure. See, one thing that you should notice is like in all these Ender 3 products, they say that resume print is possible. They say if power goes in between, resume print function works properly. You just have to press that button. That is what they say. I have tried, I have failed. I have asked Padman also to try. I think he has also failed. So the only problem that happens is when it's going to do that resume printing job, I think the last position that like the last position that is there in that processor is not what it is going to. Something there is some issue in it. Maybe a mechanical part of it. I'm not sure. But resume print normally does not work for us. But they claim that resume print function will work. So in case power failure happens, it is always better to reprint, or as Padman made a jugaad in between. Padman has an idea that you measure the height, you cut the model accordingly, and then you print the rest of it and you super view it. So aesthetically, maybe no, but other than that, it works pretty decently. Okay, structurally, he said it's not okay, it cannot. So this is what happens if a power failure happens. Or I think Sandeep sir had mentioned that day that it will be good to use a UPS. I'm not sure about it, but if you can have an alternate power source as a battery or something, it would be good to have an attachment to this 3D printing setup.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of buying a UPS. Vishak, if you can you go back a couple of slides, 3 slides maybe, to that before one more slide back. So actually, there is an example of a power failure. In if you see the center, there is not the biggest nozzles. The next one, yeah, that one where Vishak no, the to the left, to the left.
To the left.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one. Yeah. So there you can see a small discoloration, a sort of gray sort of thing, little above.
Okay.
There is a black spot somewhere above, just
Oh,
above.
okay.
Yeah, there. So basically, in this case, power had got cut, and even though my apartment has a generator backup, it takes a couple of seconds to kick in. That much time is enough. The power has stopped to the printer, it has stopped. So the part failed there. So I did that Jugaad method where I printed the rest of the part, and basically measured how much was printed with a scale, and then I know the dimensions of the model, so I print the rest of it and then just stick it together. And then I had to do a bit of sanding to make sure that the joint is not very visible. But it sort of works, but it's very annoying. If you feel that you need the part for some strength requirement, if the part requires some strength, you shouldn't do it. You print it once again. But otherwise, you super glue, it will be okay. You can put it as a showpiece. This is just for show, or it's I gave it away as a gift to someone, so it's okay. They won't really notice it. Yeah, so we can go back.
You continue.
Yeah, so general tips and tricks. These are very general. You'll learn these as you start doing, and in fact, you'll forget to do these things, and you'll learn it the hard way again.
The
So
printer will
keep
teach you
a
that.
clean build plate. Yeah, go ahead.
No, the printer will basically tell you to do it. Like it will show things. It will fail so many times that you will end up doing this properly.
Yeah, exactly. And some people recommend keeping a glue stick at hand because if the first layer, as I mentioned before, if it's really not sticking, most of the times it is not really required. The first layer will stick if your build plate, if your printer bed is aligned properly, if it's all good, then you 99% of the time you won't require it. But sometimes with some if your filament is not good or something like that, it will just refuse to stick. At that time, just spread some glue stick over the print bed, and the first layer will stick, and then you can do it. It's also a jugaad method, but many people all over the internet do it, and it works. So then, as I mentioned before, brims, rafts, and skirts are three things which are options in Cura for this build plate adhesion. And Vishak already mentioned supports, which are one of the most important things while you're doing 3D printing. So you have to be conscious and you have to make the right choice for the adhesion. So, for example, skirt is basically it just puts three or four rings of plastic around just to make sure that the just so that you can see that the plastic is flowing through the nozzle and whether it is sticking to the print bed. It doesn't help really with the adhesion of the first layer. Whereas brims, as I showed before, na, they can help in anchoring down the first layer, and rafts are like a nuclear option. If nothing is working, you can put a raft, and most likely it will stick. It will stick too well actually with the raft, and it might be difficult to remove when raft is there. Only disadvantage with a brim is you will have to cut it out after you print. So with that pair of side cutters which you get along with your 3D printer, you can cut it out. And one thing that I've found is if you want to really keep a very pristine and very clean build plate, hand sanitizer works quite well. It cleans it out very nicely. It also helps you find out paper cuts and other small wounds in your hand. Yeah.
I use IPA. But I actually stopped using IPA after a few times, and but still, bed is decent. But you can see that deteriorating in your bed. And if in case you actually have the opportunity to make the 3D model, if you are making the 3D model, always keep it in mind that it is always better not to have overhanging structures or anything with a inclination anything which has an angle of more than 60 degrees or something. Like it is all because the problem is once this angle or from the horizontal it's like 30 degrees or 45 degrees up to 45 degrees, it will be easy to print. But if the angle reduces to around 30 degrees from the horizontal, then the problem happens is that the layer that is being built will try to fall down, and then the entire structure will, it won't work good. If you want, I'll just switch on my video. I'll show you a part which had that issue. Am I just wait? I'll stop sharing for a while. If you look at this is the thing that I had printed. Okay. So at this point, if you look at this point, I don't know if it's visible. This is that angle I was talking about. Once the angle goes extremely high, the print starts getting very bad. So it is always, if you have the liberty to if you have the liberty to model it, it is always better to keep the angles a bit towards 45 or more, or it is always better to avoid these supports. That means you should not have these overhanging structures that are there. So when you're modeling it, always keep it like model with the 3D printing mind, which will be easier for you to 3D. Okay. Fasteners.
One more thing which you can try out is if you want to build certain very large things and you also have some strength requirements, then it is certainly possible to make use of fasteners. In fact, you can model a threaded hole, and you just force a bolt to go through it, and it will clear out whatever it will tap. Basically, you can tap a hole with a regular bolt. You don't need a fancy tap and die set or anything. Regular stainless steel bolts can tap through plastic on their own. So all bolts are self-tapping, and you can make use of this to get some good. You can, as you can see, I've put 4 nuts and bolts all over this part. So it is certainly possible to use fasteners, but in general, avoid them unless you really need to fasten things together. Don't do it. You try to print an integral part. So yeah, we can go ahead. So you can also print 3D printed bolts. You can certainly make bolts which are 3D printed, but in general they'll be quite weak. And I would only recommend you can also print the mating threads. You can see this is I think M10 cross pitch of 1 mm. So you can print the corresponding bolt, and you can even print nuts and bolts. But in general, they will be weak, and it's also very finicky with the tolerances. You will have to make sure that you give enough clearance, because unlike metal machining with a lathe and all, this is not that precise, and also the surface finish is not so smooth. So because the surface roughness is higher, things will tend to seize and lock with each other. So you'll have to think about clearances, fits, and tolerances. Basically, apply whatever you have learned in college in your machining, metrology, whatever it is, machine design, and apply all those things. And while building while making 3D printed assemblies, basically.
And one more
So
thing that we need to keep in mind is how long you want it to last. Like with time, I have always noticed that these holes and all that, if it is a push fit that I have kept, with time, if I see there is a small expansion that I normally notice, like because it becomes very loose. Maybe if the print is there for like 3 4 months, I don't know. I'm not sure why it is, or is it the temperature, or if it's absorbing moisture. The Even though I have not accessed it, or if I have not put it in for a long time, but it normally becomes loose. So when you go for fasteners, which are threads basically, it requires a lot of accuracy, and with time, what is its effect is something which you will have to see later on. Like now, as soon as you print, what we observe is not what is going to be there maybe 3 or 4 months later. So we'll see how it works out. I'm not sure. I'm just speculating over here on how the, if the thread may not work properly maybe in three months or so.
Yeah.
yeah, so that's a very good point. And regarding that only, if you really need to make threads and things like that, you can get threaded inserts. So basically, you can get brass inserts. They're quite cheap. Amazon also, they're available. Basically, you just have to push the inserts using you can use a soldering iron to push the insert into the plastic, and it will stay there and it will have good stability, because obviously it is a metallic insert which is put into a plastic part. That is only if absolutely essential. So far I have not come across any real application for that, mainly because I don't really print very structural things, but for some aesthetic or some other functional purposes only. So, but just keep in mind that there are threaded inserts available. So yeah, and then next thing is assemblies. And regarding assemblies, you initially you go with very loose, very clearance fit. You give half clearance, all those kind of things you can do. Then you start working down. You slowly, you don't need vernier calipers and all that. You can, you don't really need pair of calipers, but you can get cheap ones for like 600 or 800 rupees also. If you really want vernier calipers, you can get them, but not required. But basically, start with loose fits, then work your way down, find what works with your printer and what works best with your settings. It's mainly trial and error. With a certain, you have to put your brain and try to see what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah, in my printer actually like 0.3 is that perfect clearance for me, and that I basically got to know after so many, you know, after printing a lot. Then I understood like 0.3 is that sweet spot for my settings. Basically, I think even Paddy will have something similar, 0.2, 0.3.
Yeah, with this, I think with this Ender 3, your dimensional accuracy, based on your dimensional accuracy and the surface quality, 0.3 seems like a very reasonable number. Nowadays, so far, I think I am not giving clearances more than that, and things were quite okay. And dimensional accuracy is quite good. So it's very good considering the price. As Vishak said in the very beginning, for just around 13 to 20k, within 20k, you get a very functional product which does whatever, almost whatever you want, and quality is also really good.
Padman
Yeah.
Vishal actually called the Ender 3 people like, you know, we are basically advertising their
Yeah,
product.
right.
Actually talk to them before this.
I know, I know. So yeah, if people are interested, either Vishak or myself, we can show something in this Cura software. I think Vishak is already sharing. Oh, you can see the Benchy, which is printing. It's almost done.
Almost done. Almost done. Yeah, the Benchy, I think 99 was there. I'll just show you the Cura that we normally use. So basically, in this, yeah, basically this whatever was there, this was the Benchy that we have here, and this in this Benchy basically, you have all options to increase the size, decrease the size, whatever be it. Like I can make it big, I can make it small, whatever it is, and then all motions, etc. So it is always preferred to have a very flat base at the end. Like we'll go to the Cura if there is basically no other questions or so. If anyone has any questions and all, we'll just answer that, and then we'll because Sandeep sir is also there, I guess. So Sandeep sir can also answer.
Yeah, yeah. Questions, please ask. Whatever it is, you please feel free to ask.
Yeah, go ahead, Vikram.
Since we are starting with PLA, if we want to do some functional prints like door handles, knobs, or things like that, is PLA is strong enough, or is it practical to print?
Yeah. For door handles, knobs, and all, I feel PLA is good enough. Because if you ever come across a PLA print, you can feel it. It depends on the thickness basically. See, now this print is over. Now if you give around 3 mm is like a bit too high. Around 3 mm thickness itself is good enough. Good enough strength is there for that. So if you want to go for door handles and all, you can easily.
And
It was pretty strong actually.
okay, like, can I keep it in the sun or leave it in the sun?
See,
Outdoors.
I'll tell you one thing. Sun, everything is fine, but don't put it in water. when you put it in water, PLA, what I've noticed it absorbs water. And never put it in a fish tank, because whatever this PLA is, it pollutes the water and all the fish is dead. So
Okay.
these two things you avoid with PLA. I think every other environment is okay with PLA. Not huge temperatures. That's
Okay.
Sandeep sir, you were trying to speak, sir.
yeah. Sorry. I'll take a print.
Some interference is happening.
Yeah, with Sandeep sir, this thing is some interference is happening. Sandeep sir, I'll just ask Vishak to kind of Vishak,
Yeah. Tell me.
can you ask sir to tell you what he's trying to speak, because we are not able to hear him.
I'll ask. One second. I'll just show this first.
Yeah. Vishak?
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Yeah.
Yeah, Sandeep sir, can you just join from some other account or something, because your audio seems to be corrupted. Not sure what is the actual issue. So I'll just show you the print. Basically, this is what has been printed right now. Okay. So this is this is not the brim. This is the skirt that we called. The skirt that he told that it will print around just to check the flow. And other than that, this is how it sticks to the bed. So now what I'm going to do is I'll show you how it sticks. It's done. It came out. So this is all that is there. The print is pretty decent. Let me see if it is. Wait, focus ka issue. See, you saw the hole. All that is pretty decent. There are few unfinished things. Those things I'll have to just remove. These are just small things that I just have to, with my hand itself I can remove. All that stuff I can remove, and this is how the print came. So this thing is 5 grams, took an hour to print. So rest you can imagine. Like if you want to print something big, I'll just, in comparison to maybe a pen, I'll just show. This is the small. Okay. Yeah. Padman, you can take.
Yeah, I think Sandeep sir was trying to say something, but we couldn't hear. There's some audio issue from I don't know which end.
Hello.
No audible.
Yeah, now it's audible, sir. Yes. Sandeep sir, you can speak, sir.
Sandeep sir, you are not audible right now. If you're trying to speak, we are not hearing anything. Sandeep sir.
Okay. Meanwhile,
I'll
if
just message.
Meanwhile, if anyone has any questions, they can go ahead and ask.
Hello, sir. Myself Devashish.
Recording is on.
Yes. Please go ahead. Yeah.
So, sir, actually, sir, I saw you removing the bed. Vishak sir removing the bed. So usually you do that, or just today you did? Because I think you have to recalibrate it, right?
No. See, that is not basically the bed. That is just, I'll just show you. One second. So basically, that is not the bed. This is the actual bed where that is just that surface. Now this is already leveled. So that bed is just kept on top of it, and that has that surface basically. And that is kept on top of this, and it's a bit magnetic. And on top of that, I'll just keep these clips to do it. So the surface that I've removed is normally meant to be removed, but normally I don't remove. I can just pull it from with my hand itself. But if in case I have these very big structures that I'm printing, it is always easier to remove and then use this bed to take it out.
Yeah.
See, this
So-
is that.
So actually, I'm having this Ender V2 uh, at my lab at Space Lab, so I usually use it. So actually, thing was, you might have seen there are rollers on this wherever the stepper motor is moving. Like if you see the nozzle head or the vertical link connected to the lead screw. So there are some rollers, right? So those rollers are basically were getting torn due to that. So actually, what we did was like when I saw a YouTube video, they said that the roller should be free to move.
Yeah, that
So-
is there during our assembly. We make sure that the rollers are free, actually.
Yeah, you shouldn't tighten them too much. It should be just tight enough to move in a pure rolling motion. It shouldn't slip and slide. It should roll, but it shouldn't grip like anything. If it grips like anything, it will eat itself away in that aluminum extrusion V slot.
Yes, sir. So actually, when I corrected it, so since that day onwards, printer is having some issue. Like elephant foot is coming up, and if you see, like we initially print some 4 or 5 layers, right, to get the base done. So those base layers are like protruding outwards, like an elephant foot thing. So like, and even when I'm printing the part, the net the part is suffering some compression. Let's say if I print a calibration cube, so it is not 20 mm height. The height is around 0.95 or 0.9. So what should I do?
No, basically, what you were trying to say is, after what all did you do to make it loose, basically, and what is the issue?
Actually,
Like, the issue was not a bit clear.
issue was this only, that rollers were being eaten up. So that's why we needed to loosen them. So for
Okay.
that, we actually
Yeah, continue.
I think some network issue is there with him.
I think he got disconnected. Right.
Yeah, Vaishak, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Sandeep,
Yes.
sir, now you're audible.
Yeah, like actually somebody asked about PLA, whether we can use PLA for strength purpose. What I have seen till now, if you buy a normal PLA, over time it may deform.
Yeah.
If
I
you buy
understand
if you buy normal PLA, there are some PLA plus or PLA Pro Plus. They are coming. They are having some blend. They can be used for structural things. Okay, and you try to make the geometry in such a way that most of the material is in line where the force is going, like rigid. If you can say stiffness wise, if you can understand that. Then this 3D prints can be used for supporting, especially PLA.
This is just like a composite material. You try to align the fibers along the direction where you want the stiffness. So I think that's the same point
Yes,
which
yes.
he conveyed.
Yes. And about somebody asked about this V roller sticking. I think when they are assembling the printers, they should take care not to tight this. There are 2 screws which is holding this roller assembly on the extruder, right?
Yeah. Same
Yeah,
thing.
that they should tighten at the last. I think at least
No,
till
I so
one.
the issue that he faced it, like he made that right. He made the rollers free to move and good
Yeah.
enough stick. But I think after that he's facing some issue. But I couldn't understand what the issue is.
Uh, sir, can you see my? Can you see me? Turn on
I
my
think
video.
his something is going wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
actually, yeah, I can see. I can
We
see
can see
you.
you.
yeah, we could see you a bit.
Oh, now his
By
network went again. Looks like it is his hostel internet connection.
oh.
Right.
Okay, so the issue which he told, as far as I understood, was after he uh, loosened it a little bit, the dimensional accuracy has come down. Yeah, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So if you can see this calibration cube, this is what I printed the first day. So you can see all the axes are perfect. Like everything is good,
Yeah.
right? But when I printed, like now, if I print this cube, if you see this edge, no, it will come off. Only the base edge will come off. Other than that, overall part will be very finished. Upper stage will be very finished, but this lower one will actually come sidewards like an elephant foot, and sometimes it tries to detach also. That warping is also there. And this net height, like let's say this height should be around 2 centimeters. It won't be 2 centimeters. It will be far less than that. Like not even that much, but it is less than that.
Do you have? I think Sandeep sir might be able to say something for
Yeah,
it.
actually, if you have heard about, there is one software called Pronterface. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That is the software like normally we use when you want to do some troubleshooting. So you use that software and connect the printer, and then at the normal condition you home the printer and try to see when you are homing it whether it is going in the bed surface or not. Because what I am thinking is like your Z offset is little bit wrong. So if that is the case, means your lower layers will be squishing till it is all right. Then afterwards it will be okay. So that you just see in Pronterface you try and you do a home, and if your nozzle is hitting the bad miss, that's like you need to switch that. There is a home switch. You need to move it in such a way, or you level the bed again.
I'll try that. Sir.
Sir, will Z offset actually create this kind of an issue?
Yeah, like if you are having already one printed layer, and actually if and you are printing top of that, where actually it should, the material should not be there, then you will have this kind of thing. It's like too much material at one place.
No, one more doubt. See, if we actually have a Z offset issue, we can actually try printing that bed leveling thing itself, right?
That
That
was
one
fine
print, if you
actually.
try, that was fine.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
that
that
should
was
go
fine.
bad, right? In
Yeah,
case
that is.
if Z offset is gone, won't that print be bad, Sandeep sir? I'm not sure. Like,
Yeah. In that case, I think you need to see what you are doing in your first two layers. There are some
for
settings
2-3
we are
layers.
giving to we are giving it to first two layers. That you just see if there is some profile change for the first two layers, because sometimes this fan and other things we are not switching on for first two layers. You just have a look what is happening till this error is disappearing. What is the thing starting?
Actually, sir, one more thing is also I noticed is that when we go for that blood devil print, right, it prints squares, right? So
Yeah.
when it, let's say it completed one square, when it went for the another square, when as soon as the nozzle touches, no, it will pour some extra material, but after that, all the four layers will be very thin, like the
That
starting
will
point, the
always be
starting
there, no?
edge. But
That is
that
normally there. It like at least in my printers, like unless and until it's extremely proper case, ideal case for me, I get that small extra because that might have been the accumulation of the extruder, trying to push a bit of filament inside. I normally see it. I'm not sure if it is normal or not. Sandeep sir can or Padman can answer that.
Yeah, you can try playing with some retraction settings in that case.
But it's not a significant thing that I feel like I get, but the small change is always there.
Yeah, it's usually it's only very small, and retraction doesn't really affect it much, because even if you retract that filament, some small thing will be left in that nozzle or coming out of the nozzle. But if he feels that it's a very big issue, then he can
Then he
try
can.
with it.
Or he can do one thing. He can just print one layer, only one layer, and he can see how it is printing. If there is some issue, he'll get to know whether it's a first layer issue or some other thing.
can you repeat, sir? Actually, this got disconnected.
Yeah. I will suggest you just print first layer, just one or two layers, and you see what is the pattern. If material is too much squishing or something, then you just see that. Or there may be, you can do one more thing. This filament extrusion, what is the multiplier you are using? That is some setting. That you can print some single layer prints. That is like single line it will be printing, and then what is you assign in the software and what you are getting. In that thing also you can try whether that thing is correct. Sometimes what happens with material to material, this thing is changing. Even with different brand PLAs, you will have different extrusion ratios.
Yes, sir. So actually, like what I was telling was this: if we do the bread level command, it will print concentric squares like this, right? So when let's say it completes this first concentric square, when it goes here, no, it pours some extra, like some extra material comes, then their line is much smaller, like much thinner than that. All the lines are equal. But then again, when it goes here to the next one, it will do that and then comes. That kind of thing was there.
I think that is retraction settings only, that you have to see.
Okay, sir.
You just check it.
Sure.
Right. I think Vikram had one more question. We'll probably take that and.
Yeah. While if you're planning to buy one, is it fine if it is just a Bowden tube setup, or is direct drive setup is going to be much better? Will there be any difference?
I couldn't hear the question properly. Like, if someone else has heard? Padman,
Yeah,
please.
basically Vikram asked, KVNZ Vikram asked if Bowden tube is sufficient or whether direct drive extruder is really required if he is planning to buy a new one now.
I find this is sufficient. Bowden tube is sufficient. It depends here. Like if you see lots of videos, they do say like Sandeep sir. Basically, I go to all of these to Sandeep sir, and basically he once we got like Sandeep sir, you can continue.
Yeah, actually, see, if you are planning to have a direct drive thing, normal thing is you need to have certain things like dual. There are some dual gears. Hello. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there are like Prusa people. They are using this dual spur gear, what we call. But that assembly is very heavy. So there are some extrusions which are light that you can use. But thing is, if you are going for a hobby printer, miss that part itself is around 6,000 rupees. So in that way, everything comes on the money there.
Yeah, if that's what. See, for me, basically, if small prints are okay for you, and like I mean the the printer that I have right now, I have not faced any problem with the feed system, and that is when I decided it is fine. It is not an issue. The issue that I always face, at least now I'm facing, is the the roll that I'm getting is having some. It is not properly rolled. They have some intertwining inside that. So most of the time, what happens is it breaks. The filament breaks, and that has that failure has happened a lot for me. So that is when I was thinking of all this. But other than that, this is a very good system, extruder system.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, Vikram, even I have not really faced any, uh, with whatever I've printed almost every day, I have not really faced any issues due to the Bowden tube setup.
Okay. And will there be like okay, okay, it's a different question again, but uh, which of the issue would be like most frustrating, like the clogging, or should we feel like okay, we better buy a new part rather than trying to fix it? It's hard to fix again, things like that.
Nothing like that yet, yeah. At least for me, nothing like that has happened with Ender 3. The only thing is that these cloggings and all, when it happens, the frustration part comes when if I was printing a long job. Like one day
Okay.
I had a 24-hour job. Like if that failure comes at the 15th hour and all, then that is irritating because it is the lack of patience that I have basically. So other than that, solving that issue is not that difficult. I've never faced big issues in solving the issue. The only thing is that that long job got cancelled. That is when it gets frustrating. Other than that, it's all okay.
Okay.
That's my view. Sandeep sir actually has faced a lot of issues while making one. So if he knows some of the issues which will actually, um become very frustrating, then I think Sandeep sir can share that. Also, Sandeep sir is trying to, he hasn't told it, he's actually trying to print the ABS, and he's also trying to make the heated chamber for that in his house. So maybe Sandeep sir can explain that a bit.
Okay, I'll tell something about that. Actually, some things these people already told that PLA if you buy and maybe here in Trivandrum, it is getting brittle. I'm having around 4 or 5 spools that I cannot use now. But ABS we can print it by increasing the temperature little bit. So that is some other area. But thing is, you need to enclose the printer. That is the only thing if you want to print with ABS. And one good thing about ABS is you can directly emery it. It is if you emery it, it will become more smooth than PLA. But printing is harder. That will need some more time. If somebody is starting new, they should only start with PLA. You can buy a PLA plus something, which is again a stronger material compared to other PLA. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Right. I think, do we have any more questions? Or, right. Then I would like to thank Vishak, Padmanabha, and Sandeep sir for sharing so many of their very, very practical information on 3D printing, 3D printers, and how to get started. I think we had some very good questions also from people actually using the stuff at IIST as well as in their homes. So I think it was a very fruitful discussion, and thank you once again to the speakers for giving their time to this wonderful webinar. This recording is on, so I'll be stopping it, and we'll probably have it uploaded on YouTube so that others can also gain some experience from this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.